Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Being the Marshmallow, Living and Coping with PTSD. I am, as always, Bob Wagner, and back in the studio, aka my computer room, with me are my buddy Speak. Hello. And my buddy Blimey. Ahoy! How you doing? Been a while. Nice to be back. The guys had to take a week off because of the whole Handmade by Heroes thing. By the way, they actually reached out to me. They were super nice. They were super cool. They are such great people. Can't overemphasize what a great company that is. And again, they're not supporting me. They're not giving me money for any of this. I just really dig them. I want to get back to talking about flashbacks. 2 weeks ago, I had done a video on flashbacks. I kind of given a quick 101, what a flashback is, what the popular media has kind of portrayed it as. Basically, to recap that, a flashback is a full sensory hallucinatory episode. You get exposed to a stimuli that resonates to your trauma. Your brain takes over and it essentially replays a traumatic episode from your past. I'm a giant sci-fi nerd. I compared it to being on Hell's Own holodeck. If you've ever watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, the holodeck, yeah, imagine it's just kind of like that. It's not one of these things where, you know, you run off and you shoot up a shopping mall or you travel 1,000 miles to kill your college professor. That is not a flashback, okay? That is not what we do when that happens, all right? I also covered what to do and what not to do if you are a neurotypical person or indeed even a mentally ill person and you see somebody else having a flashback. Once again, do not grab us. Do not engage in any aggressive behavior towards us, because at that point, you personally are inserting yourself into our hallucination within the context of an assaultive element. And given the fact that we are reliving a probably life or death situation, we are going to react precisely like any other large primate who believes that they're about to die, okay? We're going to go into survival mode, we're going to go into self-defense mode, and it's not going to be good. We're going to regret what happens. You're probably going to regret it a hell of a lot more. Don't do it, okay? Don't grab people, don't jog people when they're having a flashback. There are better ways to do it. The whole two fingers thing. Hey, are you okay? Hey, are you okay? Just like that. Today I want to talk about how people who are having a flashback can cope with the episode. Now, this is something that takes a lot of work. I've personally been dealing with this disease since I was 12 years old. I just turned 44 back in October. So this is like a 32-year journey for me. I've spent 75% of my life, I literally did the math, 75% of my life learning these techniques, mostly without any help from anybody else. So don't get frustrated. Don't give up. That is the most important thing. Keep in the ring. Keep working the program. Be patient with yourself. Incremental progress is still progress. Now, before you actually have a flashback, in your lucid moments, you want to start trying to program your brain, okay? You want to sit down and tell yourself, okay, well, look, if this happens, what I want to do is I want to, if you don't already freeze up during a flashback, if you don't already go into essentially a statue state, I want to go as still as possible. I want to train my body to go as still as possible. The reason for this is the less you interact with your environment, the less you are to engage in behaviors that make you a danger to yourself and to anyone or anything around you. We don't want to hurt ourselves, and we don't want to damage property, and we sure as hell do not want to hurt anybody around us, because it may be that the people around us are trying to help us, and we don't want to accidentally, injure them. We want to be good, decent people and get along with everybody, and we don't want to hurt someone because the disease had us by the throat, okay? So train yourself. Don't, to go into a lockdown state, to go into a state of stillness, because then you are much less likely to engage with your environment in a way that may prove personally regretful and indeed may result in criminal charges. Don't want to go to jail. Not the most healing environment. That may seem like I'm asking a lot, because basically our brains have taken over. But it is something that we can train ourselves to do. It's just like with any other skill or set of behaviors. You work on it and you program your brain, which is essentially a computer, just a big meat computer, to activate the following program under the following circumstances. Just kind of like an acrobat or a gymnast. Okay, fine. When I'm on the parallel rings, I do the following things, and it becomes second nature and it becomes reflex. So there's that. The other thing that you want to do, and again, be patient with yourself in that because it does take time. Like I said, I've spent 30 years doing this. The other thing you want to do is you want to work on shortening the duration of the flashback as much as possible. And that is actually very, very doable if, again, you're willing to do the work. There's that word again, work. There's no free rides in dealing with mental illness. You can't snap your fingers and not have this, God knows I wish I could. What you want to do, what I find personally very, very useful in the course of dealing with my flashbacks is, first off, remind yourself it's not really happening. I know that you realize that, intellectually, and I also understand from personal experience that, it doesn't matter. The disease is telling you that it's real, and you genuinely believe that. Believe me, the feelings that we experience, for the benefit of those of you who don't have this, are very, very real. We feel the pain of the injuries. We feel the fear. We feel the sensation that we're in imminent danger, that we might die. And on some level, we know that it's not really real, but it doesn't matter because the disease just has us by the throat. But you need to work on increasing the volume of that voice, okay? The other thing you want to do, and again, this is something you need to do in your lucid moments, so you need to remind yourself, when I'm going through this, this is what I need to do. The other thing that I find personally very beneficial is when you feel a flashback coming over you, do something to try to anchor yourself in the real world, okay? There's a number of techniques that you can use. I personally tend to use sensory reminders. Like, for instance, these are my house keys, okay? Out of all these keys, only 2 of them actually unlock doors to my house, but I carry these things around because I can put my hands on them in a pinch, and I can do things like I can run my thumb over the teeth of the keys. And what it does is it provides a sensory anchor to the present that is unrelated to my trauma without actually injuring me. Again, we don't want to hurt ourselves. We don't want to cut ourselves. We don't want to do things that are going to injure ourselves, but we want to kind of give ourselves the means to remind ourselves where we really are. So we want something that is going to send a discordant piece of signal information to the part of our brain that is engaged in hallucination, okay? So you can do things like you can run your thumb over your keys. If you go to a lot of toy stores these days, autism is very much in the public consciousness. There's a lot of really great sensory toys that we can get from toy stores these days that are specifically geared towards autistic kids, but that you can keep in your pocket for those moments. Like, there's this stuff called crumple paper. It's basically a piece of cellophane between 2 pieces of felt, and it's typically marketed to babies, I should say to the parents of infants, but you can put a piece of that in your pocket and you can crumple that, and the feel and the sound of that is probably going to not be associated with your trauma and with your hallucination. The various sensory toys that they sell for autistic kids, go there, check them out, pick up a couple. Don't be embarrassed, okay? You're using this to help yourself, okay? There's no embarrassment in being 40 years old and going into a toy store and saying, yes, I need this for the following reasons. These people aren't going to judge you. This is their job. They're there to help you. The other thing you want to do is you want to try to inventory your environment. And this actually, when you're in the hallucinatory state, is very, very difficult because you're not in the room. Like, if I have a flashback right now, I am not in this computer room physically. So what you want to do is you want to maintain an awareness of your environment and always kind of have an idea of a couple of things that are present in your environment. Like, if I were to have a flashback right now in my living room, I would, be aware of the Ash from Evil Dead action figure that's up behind my computer monitor. I would be aware of the dragon figure. I am such a nerd. That is off to the right of my computer monitor, things like that. And you want to inventory those things. Now, why do we want to do that? We want to do that because a flashback takes place back here, back in the lizard angry ape part of the brain, the part that is not rational, that does not do math and have names for things. Flashbacks occur in the part of the brain where basically everything is a threat. It's purely survival. Can I run from it? Can I eat from it? Can I kill it? Can I have sex with it? Okay. Caveman time. Language and numbers and, things like 4 blue pens. 4 blue pens happens up here. Okay. It takes away signal information from the back of your brain where the scared ape lives and puts it up here where the part of your brain that operates a computer and drives a car and does your taxes lives, okay? And so you, just like with a regular computer, what you do is you pull signal information away from one program and you apply it to another, okay? There's a finite amount of processing power in every computer, including the human brain. The more you devote to the rational part of your brain, the I am a person part of your brain, the less there's going to be for the disease to operate under. And so what you do, is you maintain an awareness of your environment. You keep in mind a couple of items in your immediate surroundings at all time, which most of us already do because we're already hypervigilant. And if you feel the flashback, and when you feel the flashback hit, and very often we'll start getting precursors. Anybody who has these things knows that there's usually a couple of seconds warning before this happens. Okay, you can typically tell when one of these things is going to come, and you might have a couple of seconds of warning. If you don't, it just freight trains you. You've still got this in your brain. Like say you're walking through an amusement park and you're aware of a cotton candy booth and a bench or a little girl walking by with a balloon. Well, those things probably aren't in your list of, in your list of traumatic experiences, unless, like say you're at a terrorist attack at Six Flags Great America, hypothetically. But so you find a couple of things and you use that to pull yourself incrementally out of the flashback, and then you start inventorying your environment more, okay? Like, for instance, if I had a flashback at this desk of mine, which I've had some bad ones, I would start listing the various items on my desk. In fact, I had a flashback at work the other day at my day job, and I started doing things like, okay, a blue t-shirt, a t-shirt rack, a figurine that looks like this, a customer walking by dressed as follows. If I have one at my desk right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look around and say, okay, I've got 3 various whiskey flasks. I've got a jar of dirt from Ireland. I've got a whiteout tablet. If there's writing on something, like for instance, I've got a book off to my right. I would say Javelin Rain Paperback by Mike Coyle. Pretty good book, by the way. And why am I doing this? Because you're a slob and you really need to clean your desk? Shut up. Why do you keep him around? Sorry, dude, he's under contract. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm engaging the language part of my brain, okay? And the language part of my brain pulls information away from the hallucination. It anchors me in the now. It anchors me in the present, where I am safe, where I'm a strong, capable person. I'm a survivor, all right? It pulls me out of my trauma. I am no longer undergoing this. And again, it activates the rational thinking personhood part of my mind. And by doing that, you take strength away. You drain strength away from the hallucination, from the flashback, and you are able to return to yourself in the here and now. This video is running about 15 minutes. I'm going to wrap up. I'm probably going to do a second one right after that. For right now, I hope this has proven useful. I'm going to do a third one real quick about aftercare. Have a great day. See you soon.